Hello, punters, and welcome to another episode of the Leg Up Australia podcast. I'm Sam Wood, joined by Pat Allendorf. Mate,
Good evening, everyone.
what a day.
Mate, what a somber day. When you think it can't get any worse, they closed down racing.
We had obviously a very, very tough 24 hours Sunday night to Monday night with the AFL and the NRL suspending their seasons. But today we've had a jockey. It's been confirmed. We think we know who it is, but we've had a jockey who has been in contact with someone who has now tested positive for COVID-19, the coronavirus. And since then, he has also been in contact with other jockeys, and Racing Victoria has suspended racing until they get test back to see whether he's tested positive. And once that was found out and the pro was named, Sydney Racing, New South Wales Racing suspended Rose Hill today.
Warwick Farm today, mid meeting. So from about race 5 was abandoned.
It was so weird. I mean, I was in a meeting this afternoon and I've been all over every single part of this, and I had my phone. It was a Skype, like a conference thing with HR, and I picked my phone up after and thought, shit, what's happened? And of course, all those apps they don't give you the full story. They're like, Racing Victoria banned racing. Racing is suspended in Victoria. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, mate, I tell you, it's the sort of thing where you think you've seen everything, and then this happens. We spoke about it last week, like there was a finite answer to the whole situation, but the problems seem to be infinity, and there is no sort of direct answer to it. That's why just daily it's so progressive and so dynamic. The solutions that are trying to be created for the whole problem. And I think this goes back to where we said that the best administrators will be the ones that stand up and think of the greatest solution to this ever changing and ever evolving sickness, which is COVID-19. Just as well, can you just give us a rundown? What other meet you said? It was Sydney is closed down till when?
So he was on a flight, same flight, a commercial flight with someone who is with a confirmed case of COVID-19, which was on the 13th of March. Now, they've got to look at. Now, he has shown no symptoms. Let's just make that clear as well.
But is all racing cancelled as we speak, or is it pending tests? Or
so yeah, it's pending tests. So he's 13 days into basically 13 days ago he was with someone that could have given him COVID-19. So he's done a coronavirus test today. They'll receive the results tomorrow. And if he comes back clear, which I think is going to happen anyway, all racing will be back on Friday. So just to what you just mentioned then, Wednesday's Ascot, so today's Ascot and Launceston meetings were scrapped. Sorry.
So who was it? It wasn't Pikey, was it?
We have been advised that the interstate jockey was a passenger on a commercial flight. I don't know, but why? So obviously why this is. So if he hasn't gone over, see, he could have merely been. So the reason why they called off Warwick Farm today is just because some of the jockeys that were racing Warwick Farm were doing trials with him.
Yeah.
So it's a big name jock. Are we saying that?
Can we speculate?
I mean, we can. It's probably not. Look, they'll come out because I do believe this bloke's going to be.
Okay, we won't speculate then.
I just think he's he also, and this is a key part as well, he was also on a charter flight with 2 other Sydney-based jockeys, and they're the reason that it was called off.
Well, that would
today.
have been Tommy Berry and Hugh Bowman who went down to Melbourne. So it could be
a
are we
number.
speculating?
Depends who was that. Who it depends who.
Mate, it must be someone big name for them to shut so much down. It's got to be big name. It's got to be someone that's mingled with our big name jockeys up here.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be like a
Yeah.
Craig Williams or someone like that. It's just so far reaching. Like one person can mingle with such a what you think is a small.
Why would the Launceston races be called off?
Because maybe a Craig Newt or someone had ridden in Melbourne and mixed with Craig Williams,
right.
or an Anthony Darminian had ridden, like someone like that goes back and forth. It just
if you trace the lines, you'd be able to find out, which that's not what we're here to do. But it has, I think.
This is all speculation too.
Absolutely. That was.
Yeah.
But we are very much like the people that are on our Facebook page and Instagram and everyone that writes into us and things like that. We're all just punters and fans of the games. This, I don't know, the racing just seemed, I just didn't think, we had a lot of people saying, oh, told you so. I just didn't think the racing would go. And I don't know whether that was, if there was any, I suppose, reason for that other than it's just I didn't want to lose AFL, NRL, and the racing. Like I don't really do anything apart from work and hang out with my family. I don't really do anything else apart from those. And that it's an everyday staple. And I spoke on Monday night in what was meant to be our new weekly podcast with me doing a soul show. It's with the weekend wrap, which I don't know if that goes ahead, but. I don't know. I just think that I don't know if I felt it was invincible. I don't know if I felt that it was. I knew it was. I suppose everyone knew it was going to happen, but I guess you just didn't want to, and a part of you is missing.
With the racing side of things too, you would probably think because there's no contact between participants during the race, that it could go forward, but it's more far reaching than that. It's the celebrations after the race. It's the beer in the bar, before the race or when you arrive at the races, the ham sandwich you're eating with someone else's staff, that's from a different place who's met someone else. It's so far reaching that you wouldn't think it could happen, but it's happened. And that this is where we've got to be dynamic and cross our fingers and hope that we do have something to still punt on and talk about. Otherwise, we just we'll find something else. That's the great thing about being a commentator on something. It's there'll always be the next thing to obviously speak about. But right now, it's we've lost league, AFL, racing, soccer to a lesser extent.
Didn't really cause much of a rumble when the A-League postponed their season, to be honest with you. But yeah, mate, to be honest, like, I don't know. I'm actually a little bit speechless with this. Like, it shocks me, but doesn't surprise me. And I think it only shocks me because I just was hoping so hard that it didn't happen.
Mate, it actually feels like a dream. It doesn't feel like this time of the year. It just doesn't feel like March if you're not going to roll forward into all this group racing, the rugby league, the AFL. That it just, I suppose. But what can you do? We've just got to we have to be dynamic in what we do, and find something else to watch.
And look, that's spot on, and hopefully, and look, we will still talk about. We've got 2 awesome Group 1s on this weekend. We're going to move forward.
What's this weekend? The Tancred and
Vinery.
Vinery.
So we've got two awesome Group 1s this weekend. We've got like, sorry to keep going back on it, but we've got to go ahead like this isn't happening. We've got to go ahead as in he's going to get test results back on Thursday and he's going to be negative. And we're going to have racing Friday. We're going to have a racing Saturday. We've got premium members that pay for tips. Obviously not our tips.
My tips? Mate, the head-to-head.
I know, you're killing me. You're up $640 or $620 for a $300 outlay?
If you're looking at the gap,
you're
down 300 and I'm up
that.
620. So it's a 920. This will be a lobster feed when you come down here to buy me lunch.
Oh, hold on. Do you remember on the first podcast where we said, if I won, you've got to...
Rick Shaw's for you?
Yeah. Well, Rick Shaw's had a coronavirus positive, someone there, and they put this press release out. We were there about 20 hours later.
Have you been tested?
We got the son tested. We got Max tested because he's been a bit crook, but he's all right. But yeah, it's so crazy how close you are to this all the time. And Rick Shaw's, for anyone that doesn't know, Rick Shaw's is a restaurant up here, and we mentioned it in the first episode of the podcast, because whoever wins the head-to-head has to fly to the state and take that, because I'm in Queensland, Pat's in New South Wales, has to fly down to that state and take them out to the restaurant of their choice. Now, hopefully the borders are open by the end of the year, so
for
you can
fuck's
fly.
Sake, that would be my luck that I would win.
And the borders are closed. So Rick Shaw's is it's the number one restaurant in Queensland. It's in Burleigh Heads. I love it. They do a Moreton Bay bug roll, couple of cold bevies, but it's literally on the sand. It's stunning. But yeah, they had a positive test, and mate, it's just, we were there the Arvo with Borgie from last year's podcast, celebrating his wife's birthday. We're having a few bevies there. But yeah, it's just crazy. And look, we're going to stay positive. Racing's going to be back on Friday, and we're going to tip a couple of winners for this Group 1. I just want to recap for a few people. Look, you would have had to have been under a rock to not know about the news of the AFL and NRL, but I just want to. A lot of people go back and listen to the catalogue of podcasts, and if you're listening to this and we're months down the track, I just want to give you a bit of a timeline on what's happened the last 3 days in Australian sport, which is the darkest few days in Australian sport, in the history of Australian sport.
Unprecedented is the word that comes to mind. That this has never happened before, and I'd love to say it probably never will happen again, but you would never have foreseen this. And I think last week we were talking about the administrators really pushing forward and playing the season, and I suppose we just see how slippery a slope that changes happen, and how dynamically moving this pandemic is, really, and how quickly it can just shut down entire industry.
Last week we tipped NRL, AFL, racing, 6 Group 1s, Friday night racing, and we are at a stage 1 week later that we might not have any of that this weekend. And that's 7 days. It's changing hourly, since then, I'll go on to the sports timeline, but since then, not only have we had more restrictions come in place, we've actually had state border restrictions. So as of midnight tonight, my borders are closed. I got a message this afternoon from the Queensland government saying at 12:01 this evening, your state's border will be closed.
Hey guys, this is Darren Lockyer. Just letting you know, at 12:01 the borders are closed.
I'm surprised because remember when we all had to stop using plastic bags? Yeah. Remember I took photos of you, and for some reason Queenslanders really, really took it to heart not using plastic bags. So they got Mel Meninga, Jonathan Thurston, all these guys in all the shopping centres, like billboards that say, make sure you use reusable bags. Big Mel says so.
I get it, Mel.
It's like Wally Lewis holding a Hessian bag. So, no, look, I mean, it's good that we can have a bit of a laugh, and I think that's what you got to do because everyone, and just, this is a sports podcast. We are a sports company, but everyone's going through the same shit right now.
We're all doing it tough, mate. Couple of small business owners here, and
yeah, you and me, yep. But you know, it's funny. Your son's how old, Riley now? 2 and
mate, I've got no idea.
16.
2.5. 2.5.
2.5. Max is 8 months, and I remember when Elise started going to Mother's Club. You said it's fantastic for them, but also for you. You meet other blokes and stuff because it's really the only thing in life where you're all from different sections of life or different areas of where you live, and you're all going through the exact same thing. And it's true. I found that with the blokes I go drinking with the Mother's group blokes, and it's true. You sit there, you talk about shit about the kid, and it's when we did that and blow up. But now, funnily enough, everybody in the world's going through the exact same thing, which I don't know.
Mate, they're calling it the 9/11 effect on the whole world, where one incident affects the entire world, unlike the GFC where it involved investment and job and all that sort of stuff. Whereas this is something that nobody is immune from this. Nobody is estranged from it. Everybody is involved in it. That's what it is, something where we can all join together and help each other out that is obviously ever evolving, and nobody knows what the answer is in the end. That's why it is better if you obviously you are feeling down or need a bit of help, but it is better to talk about it because
absolutely
there is no one absolute answer to the whole thing. And I suppose that's what we're here for, to shoot the shit, to find some sort of just some sort of common ground for all of us here that we can agree with or disagree with. And
that's, I suppose, if you haven't listened to my podcast on Monday night, go back and have a listen. But I went into a little bit more, and that was the plan. The Leg Up was always going to start releasing a second weekly podcast, which majority of the time would be me solo, because obviously this is the format I want to get more reps in and want to move forward in. But I kind of gave a little bit more of myself and was a little bit open about it. And I've had a lot of people instantly contact us saying, shit, I'm in the same boat, man. Like, this is so similar. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you do need to talk, reach out. Reach out to us, reach out to professionals, reach out to Beyond Blue, reach out to, there's so many good people. We might actually list a few guys in the blog of this podcast. So if you're having a listen and you do kind of, you don't have to feel a certain way to want to talk, but if you do want to talk, we'll give you some options through there. But back to the sporting, what's happened over the last, I suppose, 4 days since Sunday. So halftime of the Hawthorn Brisbane Lions game, about 5 or 6 minutes into the second quarter, I was watching it on Channel 7. They said that, oh, look, the Gillon McLachlan, the AFL CEO, is going to address the nation and discuss what's going on. So suddenly you're like, well, fuck, the AFL's done. So he came out and said, look, we're suspending it to the 31st of May. The women's still had a couple of weeks left to go. And then last week when they announced the shortened season in the AFL, they moved the AFLW women's straight in because there's 2 conferences in the women's. They moved that straight into finals. And then on Sunday he came out and just said, the season's over. We're not going to crown a winner, which, that's up for debate as well. But there's only so much these guys can do.
One question before we go forwards.
Yeah.
Do you think competitions will implement some sort of Premier League style? I suppose they're not doing it this year even, but the team on top wins the premiership if this ever happens again, or
I don't know. I don't know going forward. Maybe in our end, they couldn't do it in the AFLW because there's 2 conferences. So I suppose what you could do is if they get enough games in, and they're talking about lowering the AFL amount of games, maybe. But look, so 24 hours after that, the NRL came out, of course, and suspended their season indefinitely. Now, you watch the games on the weekend, and watching them without the crowds, it just didn't feel right the whole weekend. And I think it didn't appeal, but I think it also didn't feel right because you knew that probably the inevitable was going to come.
That's why I don't know if that's why I was enjoying it so much, because of the desperation for just wanting it to stay around as a source of entertainment and punting and conversation, that you were looking for what you liked about it anyway. Like that, look at the boys, they're throwing the ball around. It's like they don't care because there's no crowd. There's a bit more reckless abandonment in their play. Like there's tackles being dropped off and all that sort of stuff, because it may not have the intensity here and there, but that's allowing good attacking play. But I suppose it could have just been because we were looking for the reason to want to continue the season, for it not to drop off. But I suppose you just it was delaying the inevitable. And looking back, I was very strong about them pushing on, but I completely agree with the avenue they've chosen to take, because they have to follow the AFL, and that's my only criticism of the NRL, that they couldn't get on the front foot and be the market leader here. And I did mention this in previous podcasts, that the NRL is a lot of cause and response, but it only ever adapts after it has a problem. And there's no way that they could have got away with continuing to play after Gillon McLachlan did what they've done with the AFL.
Well, I don't know if that was it necessarily. Remember, Monday is also when they came out Sunday is when they came out and said that there would be possible border closures. And Monday, basically South Australia and Victoria came out and said that the borders are going to close. And the Victoria border closing means that the AFL can't go on. That's fine. And they're not even going for a government exemption for this to happen. But I suppose when the Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk came out and said that we're closing the Queensland borders, this notion of an isolated regional format of the season that the NRL, this hybrid NRL season, was going to put together, suddenly that was out the window. Well, not suddenly that was out the window. You had to Wednesday midnight tonight, so you had basically 2 days to do it. Now, of course, that wasn't going to happen, but how far along the line were they with those conversations?
I feel like they were spitballing pipe dreams. They were just, it was like everyone throw their idea out, no matter how ridiculous it was.
Well, Wayne Bennett said that it was, that once Wayne Bennett said something, you got to listen to it. And you know what? Look, it does struggle in heat, but the heat's like 27 degrees.
Mate, it's got nothing to do with the heat. That is not, I don't think that's proven. But the fact is that the NRL were never going to be able to play their season in a biodome that involved nobody having any contact. Like, for some reason, I think they thought that they could have treated the players like robots and have them play and then go back to their rooms, train with the team, have them play, and just do that vicious cycle somewhere. But at least the AFL sort of had the forethought to even just create an idea of reducing quarter time.
Yeah, the rounds.
They can always pump that quarter time back up, reducing the rounds, get every team just coming up with an idea that every team actually adapting to the problem and not trying to make the problem adapt to them like the NRL has done. Yep. So the NRL saying that they need more money straight away and all that sort of guff, no matter how much money the government throws at them, it doesn't solve the problem of when, how, what, how they're going to play. For example, if they say that they can resume the season in September or October, well, they've got to punch that season out by the latest early Jan, because the teams have got to be able to start their pre-season for the next season.
I don't know if they can. I think contractually, the 2020 season ends on the 20th of December. I know that
I thought it might have been a bit earlier than that, but these
Yeah.
will be evolving contracts, though. If the players want to continue getting paid what they're getting paid, then these contracts will have to be a
Well,
little
they
bit.
won't continue getting paid what they're getting paid. We know that. The AFL have already discussed a 50% pay cut or a 75% pay cut. It's already starting to get a little bit messy. But you know, it all comes down to the CBA. What the television rights are going to be. And I thought, you know, and that's, I think, just quickly going back to the racing, that's what I thought the racing would be stronger, is it wouldn't be dictated by the televised rights, because racing is dictated by the gambling. You know, even if it's, you know, they put measures in place with these where the jockeys had to nominate a local area that they rode in, and that all worked out well, but because that was more of a, there was forethought in there. Not, look, let's take 16 teams, 50 people from each team, move, you know, with
Fly them to the
television
moon.
crews, fly them to the moon. Like, I don't know. Some people mention Townsville. That's another town. You can't introduce 1,000 people that, like, mate, can you imagine the stories that would come out? I don't mean to be like, but I think that was never ever going to happen. And what do you say to these? What do you say to these players? Oh, we're just going to play a hybrid season over 3 months. So just say goodbye to your family and your kids during a time where the world is so vulnerable and everyone is feeling anxious and scared. I want you to say goodbye to your children and your wife or your partner and tell them you'll be back in 3 months and you're going to cop 70% of your paycheck for the year.
But it also mightn't happen. Make sure you tell them that.
Oh, yeah. Also, as you get them prepared for that, it might not happen because, you know, a physio from the Panthers could contract it. And look, there's this.
Geez, the Panthers, God, throw them.
Actually, I didn't mean to say that, because the Panthers got thrown under the bus immediately. Gus Gould came out and said, Panthers and Manly won't survive. Oh, okay. Okay, Gus.
I've heard Gus has been very active on Twitter since.
Very, very active, mate. Very active. And look, for us to think that we're going to see the game that we left in 4 or 5 or 6 months' time is really, really not true. I don't think we'll see any team loss in the AFL. Maybe a possible merge, but I do think we'll see teams really struggle in the NRL for a 2021 season. Like, the Panthers came out, actually, speaking of, and I spoke about this on Monday night, that the Panthers came out and said that, where are we? If on a report on the Telegraph on Monday suggested that Penrith would be dragged to the financial brink, with the Panthers anticipating a $40 million loss over the next 6 months without footy.
At the end of the day, the Panthers are, or could be, a rich club if they're aligned with that whole Panthers brand out there. So yes, the football club will lose money out there, but if their football club folds, it will rebirth. The ones you've got to worry about are the Titans, your Dragons, ones that are
Titans are privately owned, isn't that right?
But when they're privately owned, it's even worse, because you're expecting a citizen to continue to put money
in that. They got more money than got up here. I wouldn't worry about Titans. I'd be more around, like you said, Dragons or even Manly.
Dragons, Manly maybe, but Manly have there's so much Beaches money. I feel like someone would just step in if they
haven't before. They've gone to merge, then, you know, like, I don't know.
I could not see Manly going. I don't know. I do believe, though, that the NRL comp will come back possibly the same, but teams will be, especially with the player, just pending how much the player rot happens. Like, if players get disgruntled that their club can't pay them because they're claiming that they're losing too much money, because you got to remember, your Brisbanes of that would still be making money or would still have money. Your Dragons, your Manleys, your Penrith, if they're crying poor, if they're saying that they don't have as much money, the potential is that, much like Newcastle the other year when Tinkler owned them, the payments mightn't come through on time. Well, bang, once those payments don't come through on time, the contracts start to become void.
Yeah.
So if their good players start moving from these clubs that are already struggling to stronger clubs, they will just lose. Not only will they lose games, but they'll lose the club.
Yeah.
And do you know what? The only thing that may come out of it is that the extra Brizzy team may be rebirthed sooner, and it may just give them straight away an excuse to go, shit, we've signed a TV deal with 16 teams with possibly a potential for a 17th to 18th team that they have to produce. So they might even go to Queensland earlier looking for the solution.
Would you see some sort of they've always spoken about it in the AFL, and I never knew if it would actually work, but would you ever see, say, like a Ipswich Dragons, or a North Brisbane Dragons? So basically, you're moving a team.
I don't know that those Queensland teams would want to let go of their identity.
But as much as we say that, they were going to be the Brisbane Bombers. It wasn't Redcliffe.
Is that for real though? I thought that was a bit of a joke.
No, that's real. But it's not Redcliffe. It's not.
Are you even allowed to say the word?
I don't think Bombers? Bomb. I always said that. I said that originally. You can't say Bombers anymore. But it's not going to be like. And it was the same thing. The Titans should have been the Bears.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to revise the Bears, bring them back up. Should have been there. The Suns, when they moved the Gold Coast Suns out there, they should have been the Sharks. The Southport Sharks AFL team here. Oh, sorry, the QFL or no NEFL, the kind of Northeast AFL team here. You should see the club. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, well, mate, I suppose in saying that, it could that's definitely how it could end up. The Sydney market is saturated with football clubs. That's a given. So would it surprise me if they moved up there? No, but if they have leagues club backing or something from a club up there, Queenslanders are a proud bunch, and I think they'd find it hard giving their names up. But
yeah, that's what I mean. Like it would have to be tagged to a local club, but I just don't see how. I just don't see how supporters of St George or even Illawarra supporters now go for a team in Brisbane. And that's not being said, but the AFL has always talked about moving North Melbourne, always talked about moving teams down to Tasmania, or even the Gold Coast side was always going to be a team move up here. Now, of course, none of that's going to. And the Gold Coast Suns in the AFL is a very interesting topic as well. The AFL pumped $25 million into them last year.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's fair, but what happens this year? What happens next year when they don't have that $25 million to pump in, or the year after, when they probably need more than $25 million?
Yeah, maybe, but hopefully they start seeing the fruits of that money they've been pumping in. That money,
but it's changed now.
The way they
have played this season.
Yeah, but the way the AFL has done their creating of new clubs usually has started at the grassroots.
Yeah.
To actually push for those younger players to come through and play in the system.
Yeah.
So I feel like that differs to an NRL comp where a lot of the times when they've attacked new markets, they've just gone in completely cold. They've sunk a team there and thought people will start playing the game because they have a team. Whereas the AFL have done it the different way. And I suppose once that money's already been in the system, the government will start going, okay, AFL stuck $25 million here at grassroots. We're going to match that because of what's happened in the economy.
Yeah, and I get that, and that goes back to something that I've always said, that you don't build off something that's always there. You always got to find something that's there.
Foundation.
Don't start from scratch. Like I said to you, it should be the Gold Coast Bears. They should have pulled the Burleigh Bears should have been the Gold Coast Bears, and Burleigh Bears, so their Rezzies still play in the Q Cup.
Mate, it could very well be the Gold Coast Bears soon. They've been the Sea Eagles, been the Titans. Could be the Bears next.
Mate, look, you
The Gold
literally
Coast
just
Mad
talked
Hueys.
the Mad Hueys.
Yay.
Mate, like I said, we do have two very nice Group 1s on this weekend, including a few very nice horses walking around.
We're switching straight to racing. I'll sit up.
Mate, sit up. I know you played a little bit funny. Oh, what Group 1s we got on this weekend? You done all the form on it. Oh, you're just doing a bit of drama for the podcast.
Bit of head wobble gear.
Yeah, for some reason, I've just closed all those races. But look, we start off on Saturday. Now, we're just going to talk as if this is happening, okay? No caveats, no asterisks, no.
It's 100% happening.
It's happening.
I'm betting. Happening or
I'm
not
betting.
happening. $1.90.
Hey, the weather markets, they're getting a lot of interest, and the esports markets on Sportsbet are absolutely flying.
Plenty
A
of
few people
traction
send us in esports. I don't know what the fuck esports are. I had to look it up. It's people playing video games.
which can never stop.
Yeah.
Mate, I have done.
Those blokes have already been in isolation.
I have gotten fridges for these lads. They live in the dark.
What do you mean? These blokes? Like guys that are pro esporters. Wow.
I don't know if they were pro, but mate, it is a weird life. I've done deliveries when they've had the convention at Homebush. They wake up the next morning, they're not hungover. There's literally an apartment scattered with Coke and V cans and Fanta and everything, pizza boxes, computers set up everywhere. It looks like a casino. What's it called? Room, security room.
Oh, with all screens.
Like just screens everywhere. Mate, it's massive. It is massive that sport. So
so I was reading about it today, and Fortnite. Now, most people have heard of Fortnite. It's a game where you go around killing each other or something.
Can you do a Fortnite dance?
Yeah. Is that what it is? Oh, this one. Don't look for the vision of this. The winner of last year's Fortnite comp took home $1 million.
What's that? 550,000. No, how much Aussie is that?
$1 million US. No, other way around, mate.
Oh, it's 1 point something.
No, it's nearly 2 million Australian.
Early.
Yeah, mate. And this kid was like 18, virgin.
Oh, I was about to say he'd be getting heaps of pee.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Whenever you've walked into these esporters after a big conference, is there groupies hanging around?
Chicks everywhere.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew
Absolute babes too.
I knew they'd get it.
Most of the times I've walked in with a cleaner going, "Who are these people?"
Mate, we've got a Group 1 on Saturday afternoon at Rose Hill. 2,400 metres. The Tancred Stakes. Last year, Avilius won it last year as well.
Did I bag Avilius early in this prep and it won everything last year?
No. Mate, Avilius is not our fave, but our second fave after a strong third in the Randvirt. But there was one horse that couldn't get it. In fact, there's two horses, but the horse that couldn't get around, Very Elegant, which is the favourite in this race. You've gone through that replay at the Randvirt Stakes no less than 16 times. What's your thought on last week's?
It was huge. It was
a good run.
Mate, it was huge. It was a massive run. Do you know what? I still watch from the turn and think it's going to win. Even after watching it a dozen times.
Elegant.
Yeah, very elegant. Yep. That Haggis must be some sort of trainer, because for it not to be able to run past that horse that starts with an A, which I will not even try and say the name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really can't believe we looked to be Very Elegant, looked to be travelling on the turn. It was going to run straight past it, and then the staying ability of those English horses is just belies belief. Like I can't believe that we We were unable to go past it. Massive run from Very Elegant. I think Avilius was something like 5 lengths away third, that's Winks-like beatings for horses in Group 1s. Like, it just doesn't. Yeah, especially a horse like Avilius with its its class.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Very Elegant was very unlucky to not put a win next to its name in that race. But looking through this field, there is a number of horses that have been well beaten last start. I think we've got Mustajir, who was absolutely smashed by Master of Wine last start. Like, I've got to say, none. Yeah, Master.
No, we
of
tipped
Vinay.
that, by the way, Master of Vinay.
Yeah, none of these.
Sorry, mate. Just quickly, I've just noticed the Very Elegant, Mugatu, and Avilius are all on the 7-day backup.
Yep, for stayers, not really concerned. You want them to be gal. You want them to have the miles in their legs. When you look at a race like the Melbourne Cup, I know it's 800 metres longer than this one, but they'll run on the Saturday and then run again on the Tuesday. So it's I think it can be quite beneficial sometimes that you just know that they've got the mile in the legs. The trainers probably didn't do a lot with them through the week. So as long as they've eaten good after their last start, you know that they're ready to go.
So you're with Very Elegant?
Mate, I'm 100% with Very Elegant. If anyone listening, if you've got a chance, go back and look at that run and just imagine your money being who would you want to be on the turn? And then you're wrong.
And then do your dough. Mate, you mentioned quickly the Melbourne Cup. I'm actually following saying that was my tip for the Melbourne Cup, but has since come out and won at Sandown. I'm liking Southern France, which has got big odds at the moment. It's an Irish horse. Most of you guys will know it. It did not a lot in the Australian Cup last time out. It's a horse that they really kind of aim at specific races. So it has beaten Miss Siska in a Group 2 in the Zipping Classic at Sandown about a good few months ago. I think it was December last year, maybe November. Tipped out, went around at Flemington in the Australian Cup, and then it's just had another 3 week. They've brought it back out for this race. I think it's going to have a bit of a go at it. I think it's still chasing that elusive Group 1 win. I think this might be it. Look, originally my money was with Very Elegant. I'm trying to move away from the short price faves in both of these races because they're what I like. So like I said, most of my money will be going Very Elegant, but I will be having a nice bet on Southern France.
It'll only be a little bit if we're using both of our money.
Well, yeah, look, we've only really got 2 bets. We only got 2 races that we're having a look at today. We're going to do our $100 head-to-head, so maybe we just try and put our hundreds together and see what we can come up with.
After last week's run, it's back to its form. Very Elegant.
Very Elegant, yep.
Yeah, I just want to sting it.
All right, we'll just go for it. But you've got to also remember that the very next race, the Vinery Studs, your third favourite horse is running in it.
What did I say? I said if this horse won last start, it would put itself up in at least my top 3 favourite horses.
So we are talking about Fun Star. It came out in the Group 2 Far Stakes on a heavy 9, mind you, and won. Really impressive win.
Yeah, and it won well.
Beat Probabile. These Probabile and Fun Star have got a really great kind of head-to-head going on at the moment. I think Fun Star's got it covered, honestly. But Probabile probably got, I don't know, it's got the Group 1 win.
It's gotten back in its runs. Do you know what?
Time.
I would love to see Probabile get going first for once, as opposed to Fun Star just left it behind last start, which I think it'll do again this start because they seem to want to ride Probabile so quiet and flat that it's I don't know, it just doesn't suit me with I think Fun Star has its measure now. It beat it by 1.3 lengths last start. I think it'll be doing the same this start.
It's $1.80 short price, which it's fine. Right? We like that. Both of us are with Funstar, but give me a bit of value in this race if you're going to look elsewhere. And let's say you wanted to bet $150 in this race, and you want to have 100 on something and 50 on something else. What do you having that 50 on?
Well, I don't know that I'd have 50 on it, but I just
that's the confidence rating right there. Well,
I think I'd be going the 140 on Funstar and having $10 on Game of Thorns.
Okay.
I feel that the step up in distance here might suit it. It had no luck at Kemba last start. It won well its first start this prep. I think maybe with a bit of luck, it might be one that can take a little bit of your investment, but I would definitely be putting probably close to 95% of whatever you're investing on the race onto Funstar, because it's my favourite horse.
It's third favourite. Alligator Blood, Castle Vecchio. So may I just say,
which horse? I can't even tell your pronunciation.
Castle Vecchio.
Castelvecchio.
That's it. You do it so exotically. Now, the punters were very, very, very happy with your tip last week. I think it was $6 or $6.50 when you bet it out. Hopefully no one took that.
Yeah,
it SP'd at like $12 or something, didn't
it? In saying that, a lot of punters got on it. You wouldn't believe it that a lot of people were sitting there waiting for the race to come on, and then ScoMo did an announcement, and the amount of people that texted me after the race and said, "I fucking missed the race because the announcement was on. I was waiting to put my bet on. I thought they were going to hold the race for the announcement."
And they raised. I know. It was this virus fucking us up before it even calls the races off. So
lucky we get on early and get on often.
Hey, let's just have a big bet on the Very Elegant and
Well, mate, what's your outsider? What's your outsider in the Funstar race?
I like Subpoenaed. It's been a bit of a leg up horse for us. It got us no luck the first time we tipped it. The second time we did. I think Tommy Berry's in the saddle. I've clicked off that race. Tommy Berry's in the saddle. It's a Kiwi horse, Waller trained. 2 starts back, had a good win in. 3 starts back, had a good win in Randwick. 2 starts back, had a pretty tough second at Rose Hill.
Second a positive piece. It's gone 5 on the trot, hasn't it? Or 4 on the trot.
Positive piece. I think that's the key marker here of where this horse could be. It's about $13. It hasn't had a win. Like I said, it's been about 6 or 7 weeks. In that, it's had 3-week little tip out. I think it's ready to go. I think it ran into a bit of class at Kembla last start. Probably going to do the same here, but mate, Waller wouldn't have it in this race. He's got 3 in the race. He wouldn't have it in this race if he didn't think it was a chance.
Waller, he's got everything, mate. He has got everything. He's got everything
in this race.
He's got everything. Can you give us one more? What's your other one around anywhere in Australia?
Look, I'm kind of halfway through Doomben at the moment. Obviously, I start my form from the races and the last race and work back. I like Gypsy Toff in race 7 at Doomben. Number 4, Gypsy Toff. It's a horse out of the Sunshine Coast. It had a good win up there 2 starts back. Another great win on the Gold Coast 2 weeks ago. It was a short run. It was only a 900-metre race here on the Gold Coast. This is a step up to 1,200 metres. I don't know. I like this horse. You'll see once you see it running around and you go back and have a look at what it can do, you'll see why I'm liking it. It's currently at $4.80. That's probably my tip of the week outside of the 2 that we spoke about and Southern France. I'm going to really hammer Doomben the next day or so.
Yep.
So look, if you've got any comments or you've got any questions, hit us up. You know all our socials and that. But yeah, mate, it's funny. Like even last week doing the form for the AFL, it was kind of I knew that it wasn't gonna. I didn't put a heap in. We didn't even do it. We ended up not even doing a season preview because we knew we only had one round in front of us. I was even going to do the preview on Monday night and just. So, what do you have in your $100 on?
Do you know what I'm going to have it on?
Tell me.
I am just straight out on $100 multi. Actually, I'm going to have. Yeah, fuck it. I'm going to have $100 on the multi. Very elegant at $2.20 into Funstar at $1.90. I do not mind F Troop at Bendigo race 9, number 5. If
Did you have a look at the Golden Mile at Bendigo?
I had a look at a couple of rising 7-year-old, 8-year-olds there that
10-year-old
gelding. So there's a 10-year-old.
Yeah, there's a 10-year-old running around.
Mustard.
There's a 10-year-old running. You must. Nah, mate, I don't know. I think I have heard of that. Anyway, mate, I'm actually going to join you on that. But I've got to beat you, don't I? I can't join you if I've got to beat you.
What can you lob in there?
I'm just going to, mate, no. I'm just going to lob Toff in. I'm going to lob in my Brisbane tip.
Ooh, what's it paying?
I'll get you updated. Sorry, every time something dings on my phone, I expect to see racing nationally close down. Gypsy Top's paying $5.
Oh, this could send you a long way ahead.
I'm going to smash you here.
Are you for real? You're greedy. That's why you're.
I'm a pig. I'm a fucking pig.
You're greedy.
Mate, I'm a pig and you know it.
Well, yeah. If you have a few extra dollars in your pocket, I think F Troop blinkers on first time. I don't know why this horse might be first time this prep, but barrier 1. I think it's worth something at $8.50, something each way anyway. $10 each way.
Yeah, mate, just have a look. Have a go.
Don't spoil it.
Have a real dig this weekend because we don't know when we get another chance to do it. You and I were like that Sunday night or Sunday. We were having a pretty heavy bet on stuff we shouldn't have.
Do you know what? When the multi went down, the whatever legs were left were getting multi together.
And we put a lot of money on it, so we end up getting back at least. So, mate, look, thanks for tonight. Another great episode in another, I feel, good episode in quite trying circumstances. We don't know whether this is going ahead next week or not. Regardless, we will be here. We'll figure out something to speak about. We'll do the form on the weather. We'll do whatever. But yeah, I'd also love some of you guys to write to us and message us and kind of let us know what you want to talk about. If you have any questions, even talk about some of your favorite horses, some of your favorite teams, favorite grand finals, anything like that. Just, we'd love to kind of talk to you via this podcast and come up with something.
Well, everyone, I know we're leaving you now, probably not on the best note with all the bad news that's happened, and we wish that it could have been a lot more positive today. But at the end of the day, we've got 2 massive Group 1s that we've tipped in on the weekend that we are quite confident in, with both of our $100 head-to-head money going on, which is probably a thing that we talk about unprecedented, that we live to disagree with each other. So
Gypsy Toff, you forget I've got a $5 in there, mate. This is
just so greedy.
I'm a big greedy pig with a $20 multi this weekend.
You're just so greedy.
If this is the last of racing, I'm going out on a high with a $20 multi win.
Fuck, mate, you are high.
Hey, hopefully we're talking. What races have we got on next weekend? This is positive thinking. Do you know,
Johnny?
We got the Doncaster Mile, spot on. We've got.
Just quietly, how good would it be to be up in one of the rooms, maybe Bjorn Baker's box for the Doncaster Mile?
Have you been there before? You got asked to leave that box, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, I don't think I did. I think I left on my own accord. Who can remember?
You can't. We've also got the Australian Derby.
Oh, the Australian Derby. Then what? Mate, the Queen Elizabeth and all that sort of stuff would be coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks,
so
wouldn't
just quickly, next weekend we've got the Doncaster Mile, Australian Derby, Size Produce, TJ Smiths. These are just Group 1s. The week after, you got the Queen Elizabeth, Queen of the Turf, Sydney Cup, Australian Oaks.
I've won a Sydney Cup.
No, okay, leave that story for next week, the week after. We'll talk about the day you won the Sydney Cup. And then to round up the month, you got the Champagne Stakes and the All-Age Stakes at, obviously they're all at Randwick this month. So,
jeez,
mate,
there's some good racing to be cancelled.
Oh, don't say. Mate, thanks for tonight.
Cheers, bro.
I will, we'll reconvene. We'll chat next week, and hopefully we're talking about racing. Guys, heads up out there. Keep your chin up. Spend this time drinking as much booze as you can. I will leave you. So they have put restrictions in place for purchasing of alcohol in Western Australia. Now, apparently that's going to come into all the states, and BWS have come out on the front foot and explained that as of this week, they're limiting purchasing. So it's per customer per store, which essentially means you can just buy a chunk from this store and then go to the next store. Per customer per store. Listen to what you're limited to.
Desperado.
4 cases of beer. 12 bottles of wine.
Is this per person?
Per person. 3 cask wines. That could be upwards of 15 litres of wine on top of your 12 bottles of wine. Now, spirits is only 4 bottles. So they can be litres. Now, premix is where it starts getting a little bit things. So like your premix cans, Bundy, Rum and Coke, Jack Daniels Coke. You can only get 4 cases of those, but you can also get 4 cases of cider. That's per person, per transaction.
Just enough.
That'll do me today. So yeah, hopefully that put a bit of a smile on your face, and yeah, keep going, speak to the page, talk it out. We're a community here at the Leg Up.
Yeah, when you're feeling down, look up.
When you're down, look up. See you guys.
Bye.